everything went wrong. At some point, the stream crashed, and I didn't notice for basically like 8 minutes. But we're just gonna start over from the top. We're gonna do it again. We're talking about Paper Mario today, then maybe we'll do a little bit of Animal Crossing. Who knows? Who knows? But let's talk about Paper Mario and the Origami King. Just right off the bat, I'll be talking about stuff that only happens in the first 2 worlds, so no spoilers beyond that point. But after we finish up, I'm going to do a spoiler section. I'm going to do a section where we talk all about spoilers. At least some of them. I have a few I do want to get on. Also spoilers for basically every previous Paper Mario game, except for maybe parts of Color Splash and parts of the first game, because I don't remember them, because it's been too long, and I don't know if I ever actually beat Color Splash, because, eesh. But yeah, Paper Mario, so Paper Mario has kind of had a complicated rap ever since it stopped being Thousand Year Door. I'll hold by Super Paper Mario is a great game. I do think it's a really good game. I personally really enjoy it, but I know it's divisive. But the first 3 Paper Mario games are really good. Paper Mario Sticker Star, however, in, 2012, 2013, was when the series started to fall apart. When Nintendo decided they didn't need both the Mario and Luigi series and the Paper Mario series running side by side, both being RPGs. So they instead to just keep the Mario and Luigi series the way it was, right? And they made Dream Team and Paper Jam and whatnot, and a bunch of remakes that eventually bankrupted Alpha Dream. And then they decided to take Paper Mario in a completely different direction, this pseudo-RPG adventure game hybrid direction that was terrible. Sticker Star sucked, we all agree on that. Color Splash was definitely better, and it definitely had better writing. Like, it's a pretty well-written game, not very complicated, which I think is to its detriment. Like, it's well written, like it's Golden Ichor, but it's as shallow as a puddle. So how much will that help you? And the same can kind of be said of this game. But what killed Color Splash for me is the combat. The combat was very similar to Sticker Star, and it just wasn't fun. But this game has definitely made some improvements. And I'd say this is a pretty good game. Maybe even a great game. That's totally possible. But the story this time around is that Princess Peach has been kidnapped by King Ollie, the Origami King, and Mario teams up with his sister, Olivia, to... Basically, he kidnaps Princess Peach's castle, so you have to go free Princess Peach's castle by traveling around the world and destroying these streamers, and then eventually, hopefully, save Princess Peach and defeat King Ollie. You know the drill. It's a Mario game. Which, at least this one didn't use Bowser as the villain. That was a big problem in the last 2 Paper Mario games, is that Bowser was the villain. I mean, in Paper Mario 64, it's fine. Bowser can be the villain. I have no problem with that. But in Thousand Year Door, they did something really interesting. In Super Paper Mario, they did something even more interesting. Bowser is actually one of your allies in that game, and it works extremely well. But in this game... Now, Bowser's, again, he helps you escape with him from the castle, and while you go your separate ways, he helps you escape. It's good. I'm glad that they didn't do it, and they didn't reuse Bowser as a villain. And then you got Olivia, and you know what? Olivia is fantastic. I love Olivia. She's got this sort of childlike wonder to her, right? This, like, childlike innocence of, like, adventuring and exploring the world for the first time ever, that I could see that you could have a problem with, but I found it extremely charming. Because this game is really good at that. Like, I genuinely did care about Olivia. Because this game is just well done at making, right, the way she talks and her childlike wonder is just really fun and interesting. Because this game is, the writing is really well done. I said it's not shallow. I said this game is shallow. right? Like that story, the story never gets more complex than that. The story never gets more complex than the original Mario of hero saves the princess from a dragon. But it's what they do in that time that matters. Because the game's just funny. As you adventure along, it's funny. When the game's sad, it's sad. And this game made me sad. Like, it's got its sad moments. And that never conflicts. When it's happy, it can be happy one moment and sad another moment. And it tracks the entire way through. The writing in this game is really good. The problem is the combat. And now, I'm not going to come out here and say this combat is the worst combat. Like, it's not bad. It's actually pretty decent. I feel like just a few minor steps, and this would be a fantastic combat system. I do stand by that. Because one of my biggest problem with Sticker Star, and my biggest problem with with Color Splash, is that the battling just wasn't fun. A lot of people point out, because those games have no experience, the battling system is, right, it's bad. That's the problem with the battling system in those games, is that there's no experience, so there's no reason to battle, so you just avoid it the entire time. Yes, that's true, and that's also true of this game. There is no experience. There are coins. As you battle, you get coins, and there are things that you can buy for coins. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But I feel like the coin system's okay. The bigger problem that people don't... I mean, people also address, but they kind of lump in there. But I think it's an even bigger problem than the lack of experience, is that the battling just wasn't fun. I did not like the sticker mechanic. The paper mechanic, or the card mechanic in Color Splash, just took too long. This game went back to the basics. Yes, it's a typical RPG formula, but there's the ring twist, right? There's rings that you can rotate to battle. Some people just aren't going to like this system. Some people who love Thousand Year Door will never be able to accept this system, because it's not Thousand Year Door. And okay, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. But personally, when it first started, I was kind of like, oh god, these battles are so easy. Because the game starts off with like 40 minutes of tutorialization. Like, the first 40 minutes of this game are over tutorialized. Maybe not as bad as a Pokemon game, but still pretty annoying. But honestly, once you get past that point, it gets better. At first I was worried that the battles were too easy, right? That, oh, look at it's just rings. Oh, this is going to be so simple. And then around the second world, no, the battles did get more complex. They added more layers of depth. And what really helps is, by default, you have a boot and a hammer that you can always use. The idea, because there's no consumables in this game, because that was the big problem, is that, people always complain about weapon... Breath of the Wild's biggest complaint is weapon durability. Personally, I never had a problem with weapon durability in Breath of the Wild. But I know some people did. But that was my big problem with Color Splash and Sticker Star, was that they basically had weapon durability. You had one-time use cards and one-time use stickers that just weren't fun to battle with. In this game, you have nothing like that. You just have a default hammer attack and a default boot attack that you can use at any time. It makes battling so much easier and so much more convenient. Yes, there are upgrades, so you get coins for battling. As you go along, you get coins for battling. And the coins, at first it's like, oh, what's the point, right? It's to buy health and whatnot. But you go along and you'll find at the store they're selling a shiny boot. So you can buy a boot that's shiny and it does more damage. You can buy a hammer that's shiny. And this goes on. And throughout the game there's also badges you can buy. Pick the sleepy eye. You can buy badges that also there are no upgrades in this game. In previous games, I think you could buy better gear. I know in the Mario and Luigi series you can, but in this game there is no better gear. Instead, you buy badges, which is a very shallow system. I know badges were in the first two games, but this one, or like, if you're expecting, like, a badge system like the first two games, no, this isn't it. Badges are basically, like, upgrade systems. Like, you can buy a badge that gives you more health. You can buy a badge that gives you better defense. But they do cost good money. So that's your incentive to battle, is that you can get badges that'll basically make battling easier. You can get a badge that gives you more time. And there's a few other ones that are, like, just for, like, fun. Like, there's a bag that turns your confetti into cherry blossoms. That's fun. That's fun. The problem is, though, by the end of the game, I had probably 100,000 coins that I never used. Because I never bought a health pickup. I only rarely bought, like, hammer and shoe upgrades. I almost never used them. And I never bought battle items. There's fire flowers, ice flowers, and tanuki tails. I never bought any. Not only did I never buy any, I never even used those items. They're in the game. I just never used them. I saw no reason to ever use the battle items. There's no point in it, in my opinion. I mean, sure, somebody can probably get better use out of them, and I probably could have gotten better use out of them. But I just never did. So yes, well, I think the coin mechanic's okay. I just had too many by the end. Like, an experience system probably would have gone way better. And yeah, that's kind of one of the problems with the battle system. Another problem with the battle system is that you can't, when you go into extreme player, is that when you go into battle, so you can, where was I going with this? Something that annoyed me early on was how turn limits work. So you have a timer, right? You have to do all of your actions within a certain time limit. But then you've also got a move counter. How many times can you, like, move the arena? Which those kind of feel redundant, honestly. Like, I almost never ran out of both. Like, I usually always ran out of turn limits. Like, oh, you can only spin the arena 3 times. I get why it's there to make it so that you can't take forever, right? So that way you gotta, like, specifically plan out your moves. But honestly, I would have been fine with just the time limit or just the ring limit. I felt like somewhere's in between there's a happy medium between this. And then there's also actions. At every battle, you're given actions, like how many times can you use your boots or the hammer. And at first I was like, this is kind of random. Eventually I realized it's based on how many enemies there are. For every set of 4 enemies, you get another action. I think the max you ever get is 3. So if there are 12 enemies on the field, you get 3 actions. And the idea is you can use all 3 of those actions to kill each group of 4 enemies. That doesn't always, 90% of the time that doesn't work out like that. Usually you can kill like 1, maybe like 1.5 of them. Maybe if you have a partner, you can kill 2. But the fluctuating thing was really annoying me, along with the time limit and whatnot. Eventually I figured out there's an undo button, so let's say you make a move and then you realize, oh shit, that was the wrong move. You can undo it at just the cost of time, right? All that time you used on that move is now wasted, which I actually kind of liked. I wish the game, out of those over 40 minutes of tutorialization, they never tell you about the undo button. But the undo button's actually very useful, and I really do think it made the combat a little better. It really did help a lot. So I talked about partners. Throughout the game, you get a few partners. Your first partner, Bobby, who's in the trailer, is kind of useless. I think he maybe attacked like 2 or 3 times throughout the entire game. He really didn't do much. The other partners were a lot better, though. They actually did damage, and they helped out, and you can get a badge that makes partners stronger. But yeah, Bobby sucked, but the other partners were pretty good, actually. I thought the other partners actually did their damn job. And then, so the other twist on battle mechanics is the boss fights. There are a lot of boss fights in this game. And boss fights, how it works is that, so normally you're at like the center of the ring, and you're trying to line up the enemies to attack on the outside. The boss fights, you're on the outside trying to attack the enemy on the inside, and trying to line up arrows to get like you can line up the arrows to like boost up your damage. You can line up your arrows to do more actions. You can line up your arrows to use like the special like events, like making your arms really big or using the elemental powers. The first like two boss fights, like the like seeing on screen here, the colored pencils. The colored pencil boss fight in the first elemental, I didn't care for. But once you get into that second area, the second elemental, and the second King Ollie boss, the game definitely picks up. It gets more creative with how it deals with the elemental battles and how you're supposed to use the elemental powers in the battle to make the battling easier, and how like certain bosses have certain gimmicks. Like one boss can't be damaged normally. Like if you damage him normally, he just regenerates his health. You need to think of like more creative ways to attack him. That's really interesting, and the game keeps that up through the rest of the game. I thought the boss fights were really interesting and really clever, in my opinion. They're not all... Some of them are fairly easy. Some of them are very complicated. And the game has a weird... Like, during the boss fights, you can find, like, this orange letter that kind of explains it to you. And sometimes that works really well. Sometimes it felt very vague. And there were more than once where I picked up that orange letter, and then it told me, don't do something right before I planned out my first move to do that exact thing. So it didn't always go perfectly. And then there's the elementals. So these are, you see the one in the background. There are elementals that you fight throughout the game. And they give you special elemental power-ups that you can use in the overworld and occasionally in wave battles. Which, okay, I didn't talk about wave. So normally, right, you're spinning the wheel, which is between 4 and 12 enemies. But sometimes there are battles with multiple waves. So sometimes you could fight up to 24 enemies in a single battle, which is way too many enemies. But occasionally, one of the enemies will be holding like this special like sigil, and if you kill the enemy and do the perfect ring thing, you'll get that sigil, and it'll basically make the second wave a joke. My disappointment, the sigils don't come up all that often. I wish the sigils for the elemental attacks had been like the stars in Thousand Year Door. Like, if you had, like, you know, in Thousand Year Door you get the stars, which each star is like a special attack. I wish the elementals had just been special attacks. Maybe there's like certain conditions to charging them. But that would have made the battling system so much more interesting and complex. But this well, yes, the wheel thing can be complex. It's not always interesting. And this elemental thing, along with a few other, like an experience system, would have just made the battling system so much more interesting. Because you do get stronger as the game goes on, but it's never through combat. So you can upgrade your health throughout the game. There are heart containers that allow you to upgrade your health. The problem is you never get one for defeating a boss. You only get heart containers for open world exploration. Now there is the toad mechanic, which I do think is a great synergy between open world exploration and battling. Even though I barely use the toad, I think it's a good idea. The problem with the heart thing is that I don't feel the synergy. Like, just exploring the game, I don't feel like I should get hearts just randomly. Like, back in the center, you see the 4 orange things, or the 4 color things, for a second there. There's a temple back there. And as you explore that temple, you get a health upgrade. You should get the health upgrade for beating the boss at the end of that temple. But you don't. And I really do feel like that's a disconnect. That's one of my big problems. However, once you do get health upgrades, the game does something that more RPGs should do. And that is, once you get a health upgrade, right? Because it increases your health, but it also increases your damage. So once you get that damage upgrade, if you attack an enemy that's lower level than you, if you get the first strike on him, like let's say you jump on him or you hit him with your hammer, you kill him instantly and get coins. That's something that was introduced as early as Earthbound, as far as I know. And so many games still don't do that. That's a great feature. Every RPG should have that feature, where if you're fighting an enemy that's lower in level, it just instantly kills it if you're way stronger than it. If you get the first strike or whatever. Earthbound did it perfectly and yet only very few games copy it, and more games should. And this game does a great job at copying it. Yeah, there's other problems like why like you have the default hammer and the default boot, and there's these upgradables, right? The shiny boot and the shiny hammer. The problem is they do have durability, which theoretically I never really had that much of a problem with, because you get a bunch of them and you can always buy more and they're fairly cheap. And they didn't always, and I think only like once or twice did they break in a battle where I needed them. But I'm disappointed there's no permanent upgrade. Like, I wish you could permanently upgrade your default shoes to be shiny shoes. That would have been super convenient as the game went on. It would have allowed me to buy, like, better upgrades and having to stop focusing on the lower ones. Right? And that way my default attack could do more damage. But that never happened. I mean, yes, your default attack does do more damage as you get more hearts, but it's just disappointing. This game, there's a lot of good here. Every Paper Mario since Sticker Star keeps getting better. And I think the next Paper Mario, if it takes what made this game good and adds on to it, adds on some more traditional RPG elements. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Simple gear and armor upgrades. An experience system, so that way you're upgrading both your health and your damage. Simple things like that would make this game way better. The ring system, honestly, if the ring system came back in the next Paper Mario game, I'd have no problem with it. I think the ring system is very interesting. The ring system, I think, is well done enough. If it came back in the next one, maybe refined a little more, maybe right, like add that special elemental thing I talked about, I think the ring system could totally work. I think it could be great. But here, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's way better than the previous two games, but it's not as good as Thousand Year Door, and that doesn't kill me. That really, I'm not so... There are some people whose, like, their childhood was Thousand Year Door, the way they talk about it. And mine wasn't. Yes, I played Thousand Year Door. Yes, it's one of the best RPGs of all time, up there with, like, Persona 5 and... I don't know, one of the Dragon Quest games, 11... Xenoblade Chronicles, right? There's tons of good RPGs. But I just because this game isn't that, it can be something new. Because I'll admit, the game starts a little slow. It's fine, but, like, it's like, God, are we going through the motions again? Especially through the first, like, streamer. Like, the first area where you fight, like, the red streamer, and you're climbing up the mountain, going to the watchtower, dealing with the earth elemental. It's kind of whatever, but the game really picks up in the second area. The second area is, like, an autumn-themed mountain, and there's an amusement park as well. It really picks up steam. I felt like the second area is when the game really comes into itself, and then from there, it's just straight on chugging through to the end. And it really never loses that steam. Like, once it gets it, I really felt like it never lost it. If you get far enough, if you get to the second world, maybe even past it, the game really picks up steam, man. It's good. It really does know what it's doing. Also, I have nowhere else to put this, so I'm just going to say the music was good. I'm not the best judge of music, but I'm just going to say the music was good. I like, there were a lot of good themes in it. I'm not the greatest music guy, and when it comes to video games, I'm not a good judge, but I'm pretty sure this game had good music. Music that rivals Thousand Year Door, easily. Might be the best in the series, theoretically. Because back on track. The exploration in this game, this is an RPG, right? And because that's what Thousand Year Door was. It was an RPG. The thing is, well, yes, this game is kind of an RPG. It's not an RPG. It's got a combat system like an RPG, kind of in its own weird, twisted, dimension way, but there aren't really experience systems or anything. The best way I can describe this game is it's an adventure game. Because while I've been focusing a lot on the combat for the past, like, 15 minutes, the combat isn't the end-all be-all of this game. There is a lot of exploration here. There's a lot to explore and to discover and to see. The world can be big and open. It's very Honestly, it reminds me of a Zelda game. To the point, even in the background of that shot, you could see a temple. There are Zelda-style dungeons in this game. They're never as complicated as Zelda dungeons, but if you're a fan of Zelda games and can put up with some light RPG mechanics, and you can stand the ring system, you don't even have to like the ring system. You just have to be okay with it. You will have a good time in this game. There is a lot of Zelda influence here, and we'll get to it in the spoiler section. But the world is very interesting to explore, because in like Color Splash and Sticker Star, there was like a map system. As you explored the game, there was like a map you went through, and it was kind of boring. This game, there's no map. You go from one area to another, which kind of is a problem, because like you start off in Toad Town, and then you head to the Red Streamer, which is up in the mountains, and on your way to the boss fight, you see the Blue Streamer in the background. And then you take the tram car from the Blue Streamer, or from the Red Streamer after you've beaten the boss, to the Blue Streamer. And then you do some stuff in the Blue Streamer, you beat the Elemental, you fix the river, you head to the amusement park, and as you're going through the amusement park, you find the Yellow Streamer. Which does kind of... My one big problem with exploration... So how Thousand Year Door did it was you had the Thief Town, whose name I don't remember. Just off the top of my head, it's not important. But you had the Thief Town, and the Thief Town acted kind of like a hub world. The Thief Town was your hub world, and from your hub world, you could get to all the other worlds. In this game, you just go from one world to the other. So you go to the mountain, to the Autumn Mountain, which it feels completely different, I might as well say. They're both mountains, but the Autumn Mountain feels completely different. And then you go to the next area, and then the next, and so on and so on. You only ever have to go back to Toad Town twice, which is kind of a disappointment. Toad Town's this kind of interesting area that you only have to go back to twice in the game. You're only required to. And the first time you do it, I think it's actually pretty clever, because it foreshadows some stuff in the future, and it's a fun little set piece. The first time you go back to Toad Town is good. The second time you go back just because of that foreshadowing that happened earlier. That's not really foreshadowing that much. And by the end, it gets kind of lazy, but again, spoiler section. But I was kind of disappointed you never need to go back to Toad Town. You just do one streaming after another. But yeah, all the worlds have good theming. The mountain and the mountain that you normally climb, it's fun enough, right? It's got some Mario references. It's got some varied environments. And then you go up to the Autumn Mountain, which is basically divided into like 3-4 regions, all which have their own unique feel and style. More foresty, more mountainy, more rivery. There's the amusement park. This game has really good world design. It's got the dungeons and the puzzle solving, like I said. But as you explore the world, you need to have something to do besides just getting to point A and point B. Your main thing is you have a bag of confetti, and you can throw the confetti around to fill in holes. And the holes, right, it's just another kind of like collectible. You get money from filling in the holes. It's fine. Along the way, you also find toads. This is something I really do like. You'll find a dog in the overworld, and you hit the dog with your hammer. Yes, you hit the dog with your hammer. And it turns into a toad. And now that toad will then, in the battle sequence, join you in battle. So it's like there's an arena in the background of the battles, and the toads show up in that arena. And the more toads you have, the more they can help you out in battle. Because you can pay toads in battle to help you out. Sometimes they can make the first move, like they can rotate the arena once for you, like to basically help you out, and like if you can't solve the puzzle, 90% of the time it did really help out. If you're low on health, the toads can give you more health. They can also hurt the enemy, even though I swear they only ever did like 2 damage. But I feel like it's very synchronous. Helping out the toads in the overworld gives you a reward for the battle system. That's a mechanic I really like, and I'd be happy if it came back in future games. I think that's really interesting. There's also these like trophies you can find as you explore the world. And the trophy, I visited the museum at the very end of the game, and I had like probably over half of them. There's a lot of trophies to collect. They don't really do anything, but they're there. And there's some concept art and whatnot you can also collect. As you like rescue toads, you get points, and there's an entire museum with chocked full of stuff if you want to explore. But again, you never go back to Toad Town. Only twice. And yes, anytime there's like warp zones in each world to take you back to the museum that will take you back to Toad Town, but I never really use them, especially because most areas had a shop. But if you do go back, those portals do take you to the museum, so it does get you a little closer. Also in the overworld, there are places to use your elemental powers, which it's almost all story stuff. I don't think there was a single time I ever used the elemental powers to do, like, I don't think there are any side quests in this game. Maybe there were some in Toad Town I never found, but there are never any side quests in this game. And so I was kind of like, maybe you could do some more with that, because the elemental powers are kind of fun. Like, I think you only use the water one, like, twice. Yeah, you only use the water power, like, twice in the entire game. And then there's also combat in the overworld. There are these giant, like, paper mache guys who kind of remind me of piñatas, and you use your hammer to beat them up like piñatas. It's actually, it's basically an entirely different combat system, but I thought it was kind of fun. It's not very complex, and they only do, like, interesting things with it, like, once or twice. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought the more complex battle system was kind of... Right, it's not more complex, it's different. It's more open world. Again, this game takes a lot of influence from The Legend of Zelda. And I'm fine with that, because I like me some Legend of Zelda. And yeah, I think the overworlds are fun to explore. They've got a lot of collectibles if you're into that. Probably collectathon levels, honestly. But I think the best part of it was the toads. The toads were by far the most interesting. And yeah, between the combat in the overworld, it all comes together to make what I thought was a pretty great game. I had fun throughout the entire time through. Did I have problems with the combat early on? Yes. Did I think the game kind of starts off a little slow and kind of boring? Yes. But by the time you get to the second world is a little long. There's a lot to do in it, and it really does throw all it's got to offer at the game in the second world, and I think it's great. I think this game is great. I don't give that's just what I gotta say. It's great. If you're a fan of Zelda games, you'll like this. Have you ever played a Mario RPG in the past? You probably might. If you're so attached to Thousand Year Door and you can't get past the combat system, you probably won't like this. Especially if you think XP is the end-all be-all of this game, which I don't think XP is the end-all be-all. But this game isn't an RPG, and it's an adventure game. And I know it's an adventure game with RPG elements, and that's going to be hard for some people to deal with. Especially because people want Thousand Year Door. Thousand Year Door is considered one of the best games of all time. People love it. And it's crazy to think that Nintendo would make Thousand Year Door one of the best games of all time and just not try to do it again. I get there's this idea that, Nintendo basically made perfection even though Thousand Year Door is not perfect. And now they're just not going to try to recreate it again. What's the point in even bothering? They'll never be able to make it again. So instead, they're just going to do their own thing. But now with Alpha Dream shut down, going bankrupt because they kept remaking the Paper Mario, or because they kept making Mario and Luigi games that nobody was buying on the 3DS in 2017 and 2018. And that does suck. But now the Paper Mario series is at a critical point. What are they going to do in the future? Are they going to keep going on like this and make these weird adventure game RPG hybrids? Are they going to go back to their adventure game roots? Will they just remake Thousand Year Door like everyone asks? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not any of this. But while the last two Paper Mario games have been a struggle, what we have here right now, I enjoyed, and I do recommend it. If you really are craving a Nintendo game this summer and can put up with the battle mechanics, there's a lot to like here. And it's pretty great. It's pretty great. With that, with that, I think it's time we talk about spoilers. I'm not gonna give away everything. I'm not going to give away the ending of the game, even though it's kind of predictable. But from here, we're going to talk about the third, fourth, and fifth worlds. Need a drink real quick. So, full spoilers ahead. If you're interested, go play it. Go play it. If you're not and you don't give a shit and you don't like the game, then I guess stick around. But full spoilers. So, I feel really bad for Luigi. Luigi's in this game, and he is the punching bag of this game. His entire quest is to find the key of Princess Peach's castle. And the entire time, they're just shitting on him. He keeps finding all these different keys that help you out in your quest, but he is just the punching bag. I feel so bad for him. He can be such an interesting character, and the Luigi's Mansion games do him great, but this game just treated him like dog shit. God, I feel bad for him. But this game does a lot. As you get later into the game, there is a lot to be done. The big thing is, this game made me cry. Barely. Like, I wasn't, full, in tears, puffy-eyed, whatnot. But it got that, single tear out of me. Because, so, you come to this desert area. And Bobby joins you. And I was like, oh, that's cool, right? Maybe the companions are a little bit more complicated. Because it's basically how the game works is you meet a companion, you go on to the next area. But then in the desert world, Olivia gets trapped under a boulder. And Bobby, your Bob-omb partner, is like, don't worry, I know how to get her unstuck. So you go into the ocean, which is that foreshadowing thing, and you see the purple streamer, which we'll come back to. And Bobby picks up something, and then when he comes back, he sacrifices himself to save Olivia. It's fucking heartbreaking. And Olivia's heart just heartbroken after this. And it's a fucking really well done scene. You can see Bobby's ghost right there. It's an insanely well done scene. The writing in this game is fantastic. It exemplifies everything. It's so good. And it's what made me love Olivia. I was already kind of liking Olivia. And when she got trapped under the boulder, I was like, oh no. But then after that, I was like, oh my god. When Bobby died and she's depressed, I'm like, oh my god. I actually feel bad for her. Holy shit. The game got me to feel. Holy shit. And then after that, you go into the desert world. And the desert world's kind of it's kind of open world-ish. I mean, there are set goals. You gotta go to the desert town. You gotta meet up with this Professor Toad. Then you gotta go find the fire elemental and whatnot. But the desert world, you got this car you can drive around in. And you can basically go anywhere in the desert, but you gotta go find certain things. And there's tons of areas in the desert that you never need to actually go to beat the desert area. Because your goal in the desert is to, you find the streamer very early on, but you have to, unlock it. And so you gotta go find the fire elemental. The desert area is just kind of open trying to find this pyramid. And I really enjoyed the desert area. I like the purple. Not every desert area... Right, most deserts are yellow. And this desert was purple. And it's kind of cool. And then you got the next boss, who was the hole punch. Which just getting the hole punch in general is really fun. You gotta go around and play this dance music. And make all these toads without faces dance. It's really fun. The desert's a really well done area. And then after that, you find Captain Toad, who's not our adventurer Captain Toad. It's spelled differently, but he's a seafarer. And then you go out into you go back to the ocean where the purple streamer is. They reference Sticker Star. And then you go sailing around the ocean. Because guess what? The fourth world, I said this game was inspired by Zelda. The fourth world in this game is Wind Waker. It's literally a giant homage to Wind Waker. There's different islands for you to explore. Half the islands you don't even have to go to. But you go around, you find Luigi, you meet the person who created King Ollie. You go down here, there's literally a trial of power, courage, and wisdom. This entire the fourth area is entirely inspired by Wind Waker. And I think that's probably the thing they give away the least in the trailers. There's nothing of that. The fourth world is extremely well done. It's a Wind Waker homage. You can buy an upgrade to make your ship go faster. There's tons of little islands, half of which you don't even have to go to. You really just need to go to like 2 or 3. Probably 3 or 4. But there's a few islands to explore, a few challenges to do. There's literally the Tower of the Gods from Wind Waker. Because these are, right now, what's showing is the Elemental Trials. And they're fun enough. The Wisdom Trial was kind of dumb. But the other trials were pretty good. And then you get to the Tower of the Gods, and you fight the Tape, who had like a New York accent. Tape was an okay boss. Again, especially like some of the boss fights. And then we get back to that problem of going to the next world. You go through the ocean, and at the very end of the ocean, you destroy the red streamer, look in the background, and there's the green streamer. And the green streamer takes you to the spa area, and there is they bring back Sniff It and Whiff It, because basically every Paper Mario game since Sticker Star needs to have like a Sniff It game show or a Shy Guy game show. This one's okay. It's kind of weird. And then you go to fight the next streamer, and it's in Bowser's Castle, because Bowser's Castle crashed into the spa, and you got to do some adventuring in the spa. But it's pretty fun, and the scissor boss fight was kind of bullshit, because he could like one-hit kill you. But for the most part, the scissors boss fight wasn't that bad at all. And then afterwards, you go and fight Bowser takes you on his airship to fight Princess Ali. And you go to Peach's castle, Luigi shows up again, I feel bad for him. And yeah, and there's more after that, but I'm not going to give much of it away. Okay, that's a funny joke. There are so many jokes and like boss battle details that I didn't even show in this. There is so much in this game that I just left for you to figure out yourself. So even if now that you know basically everything except for the ending, which I got my one problem with the ending, I wish we had. So Ollie's whole gimmick is that he hates toads, that there are too many toads in the world and he hates them all, which I think could theoretically be like this interesting meta-narrative on the Paper Mario franchise itself, that like King Ollie hates the toads, and since Sticker Star, every Paper Mario game has just used toads. I feel like there could have been this interesting like meta-commentary about the series. They never go that far with it, but it's still well done. I'm not going to give away more of the ending than that. I also do want to say the trailers gave away everything in this game. Like, besides for, like, a few moments. Like, I don't think they ever show the Wind Waker part. I don't think they ever show the Shogun Studio, or if they do, it's bare. They only show the one part in it. But they do show off a lot of this game. The trailers are filled with spoilers. Just absolutely riddled with them. But yeah, honestly, that Wind Waker section blew me away. It's not complicated at all, but damn is it fun. God, an entire segment homaging Wind Waker. Holy shit, I did not see that coming. It's a Zelda, it's heavily inspired by a Zelda game, and I don't mind that. I don't entirely mind that. Again, I still highly recommend it. There's a lot I just spoiled, but there's also a lot I left out, including the ending, which I'm doing on purpose. I highly recommend this game. It's a great game. Will it make my Game of the Year list? I mean, Nintendo's released, 5 games this year, so... And I didn't play Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Everyone kind of forgot that game came out this year. And I didn't play Clubhouse Games 51. So yes, this might make my Game of the Year. I don't know. I still have to play Ghost of Tsushima, so we'll see. And who knows? Who knows? It could. I did enjoy this enough. I really did enjoy this. In our dark, bleak, kind of getting ready to apocalypse world, and not like the fun like apocalypse, but like the really fucking depressing apocalypse, where it's like, of course we didn't go out with a bang, but with a whimper. This is really fun, especially with all the shit in the game industry. A lot of the shit Nintendo fans are going through. A lot of shit Nintendo fans put themselves through. Just let it go and enjoy a fun game. Nintendo, there's that famous quote, if the game's not fun, why play it? This game is fun. Play it. There are much worse games you could get this year. Much worse. I mean, you could buy anything by Ubisoft. Fuck Ubisoft. Those freaking sexual predator, worse than the Catholic, as bad as the Catholic Church. Oh god, Ubisoft is terrible. Ubisoft is terrible. But we're getting off point. The game's good. I recommend it. The game is good. I recommend it. And with that, let's get back to our normally scheduled Animal Crossing. I just talked for 40 minutes. Actually, 50-something, because I lost the first 8 minutes. That was fun. That was fun. I miss reviewing games sometimes. But hey, if I can do it here, I can do it here. I doubt anyone's watching anymore. Oops, did I grab a watering can? Yeah, God, Paper Mario was good. And now it's time for some nice, relaxing Animal Crossing. I did what I wanted to do today. I have no other plans. We're gonna go around, we're gonna hit up the bank at some point, we're gonna check our turnip prices, find the fossils, water some flowers maybe. Not a very complicated day at all. A lot of butterflies up there. It was the butterfly. Nan, you better not water those flowers. They're a decorative garden, they don't need watering. Oh, God. I would not be surprised if my voice is shot to shit. What's that? Okay, it's almost 2:30. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be back with regularly scheduled Animal Crossing. You know how it goes. Yeah, God, I miss reviewing games. Next time I should actually write something, though, instead of just doing it off the top of my head. Like I used to actually write reviews. Way back in, like, oh god, my original review series was terrible. The first season of A Double-Edged Sword is fucking garbage. Second season's a little better. Third season's even better than that. And then I didn't do anything for 2 years. And then I did the Sword and Shield review, and you know, the rest is history. Oh god, my nose is all forked up. Let's put that away. Let's hit some rocks. Oh god, I need to blow my nose. Give me a second. So I did I don't like Chick-fil-A. And I think it's not that I don't like, it's not because of the gay thing, even though the gay thing's a big fucking deal. Like yes, the gay thing's a deal breaker probably. Anyways, like I will never buy from them. But I also just think they're overrated. Like once Popeyes came on the scene and just made like an amazing chicken sandwich, that was it. I was never going to Chick-fil-A ever again. But the rest of my family likes it, so they still do it, and they don't have a problem with the gay thing. The Chick-fil-A being a bunch of homophobes who are literally stealing art from the Middle East, or is that the Hobby Lobby people who are stealing art from the Middle East and putting it in creationist museums? I think that's the Hobby Lobby people. Also, fuck the Hobby Lobby people, who are fucking insane. But yeah, I don't care for Chick-fil-A, but my family does, so they went and got Chick-fil-A, and they got one of these, like, ice cream lemonades that I think is kind of sour. The Chick-fil-A sauce is really good, but the sandwich itself is garbage, and you can actually find the Chick-fil-A sauce at Walmart. It's called, like, Great Value Chicken Sauce, but it's literally just the Chick-fil-A sauce. I'm not even joking. Here in the States, yeah, you can do that. And it's pretty on par. It's... We got a purple. We got a purple. I'm gonna go put that in the Pride Garden. But yeah, so I had a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Nah. I got pink. I'm still looking for black in that. We didn't get turnips. But yeah, I had a Chick-fil-A, like, it's like a lemonade shake. Yeah, I kind of called it sour milk, and that's kind of true. I don't know, I've definitely had worse things. But it wasn't that great. And then I was playing Minecraft yesterday. I went to the Nether, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the blaze rods for the blaze rod thing. I went to the Nether, and I had 4 crying obsidian. And I was like, oh, I just need to get 2 more, and then I can make a respawn anchor. I could not get the last 2 crying obsidian, so we were like, we'll do it without it. Without the respawn anchor. I died so many times. It didn't go well. But I got over 20 blaze rods. Like, honestly, once we got past all the wither skeletons and found the blaze spawner, it went a lot better, because blazes are easy to kill. It's just wither skeletons are a disaster. Who's here today? Is Gulliver on one of the beach? I should check for Gulliver. I knew the last fossil was going to be up here. But yeah, and then I'm probably going to play a little bit more Minecraft today, probably. Hopefully. God, Minecraft is still so much fun. Maybe now that I got the blazes, I still want to find one of those blue mushroom biomes. Even though while trading with zombie pigmen, they gave me 7 ender pearls. I already had 10. Because I do think there might be a cheat in this game to make, if you find one of those blue nether biomes, they spawn a lot of endermen. So instead of having to, like, look for endermen in the overworld, you can just get endermen from, like, those blue biomes. And I think that'd be a lot more convenient. At least that's how it is in my head. But I think trading with zombie pigmen, 7 ender pearls for, like, a single gold. Well, that's not a guarantee. That might be pretty broken. Oh shit, that might change everything, honestly. That might make speedrunning even easier. I know Dream used it in his recent run. Have I talked about Dream? I feel like I have. Dream is a Minecraft YouTuber who does, like... My favorite things of his are these, like, 3v1 speedruns. I think they're really good. There is this debate of, is it scripted or not? Sometimes I feel like it is. Other times it's just like, nah, I could totally see a person doing this. Sometimes it's very coincidental. Like in this most recent one. At one point he jumps off, he falls off a tower and is able to land by jumping on a horse, breaking his fall. That's very coincidental. That could be scripted, I don't know. I could totally see the argument. And there was definitely one point in the early when it was just him and George, where George was trying to speedrun the game and Dream was trying to stop him, where Dream obviously let George get away. Like, Dream has George dead for rights after he, like, surprise attacks him at the furnaces. And he just lets George get away. Oh, did I not? We'll check it tomorrow. I was like, did I not check this one? We'll check it tomorrow. So I do want to do turnips. I got to keep track of my turnip prices this week. Oh, I should add that. Tomorrow we'll talk about, what's the, Webtoons. I do want to talk about Webtoons tomorrow. Because they just celebrated their, what is an anniversary? Their, Webtoons just celebrated their 6-year anniversary, at least here in the West. And I do want to talk about that tomorrow. 123! I guarantee you it's fluctuating this week. Let's see, there's an 80% chance of fluctuating. There's a 14% chance of a small spike, and a 1% chance of a large spike. So not statistically impossible, but it's going to be fluctuating. But I'll keep an eye on it. I guess let's go water a few flowers. Oh god, I guess more Nintendo games leaked, like Mario Kart 64. I knew Mario Kart SNES leaked yesterday, and I didn't really talk about it, or leaked like a few days ago. But I guess even more Nintendo games leaked. Which is kind of crazy when you think about it, but yeah, that happened. I don't know where all these leaks are coming from, but the Ella's Real model is very interesting. The Pokemon... Oh my god, the Diamond and Pearl leaks. I've been seeing so much fan art of the beta design for Arceus, which is just kind of like a spooky ghost. And people have been doing amazing stuff with the beta Arceus design. Like, there have been some really cool designs, like interpretations of it. I've been having fun with that. And I guess even more source code and betas leaked. So we do gotta water these. Today was a very interesting day. Yeah, the reviews are always so interesting. God, I cannot believe the stream failed, though. That's so funny. You know, because I spent time, like, the green screen, I spent time setting that up yesterday. Those were screenshots I took while actually just playing the game. If I was smart, I would have, like, recorded footage of me playing the game early on and just spliced it in there, but I didn't even think about it. There were actually a few videos I took, but in the slideshow on OBS, none of that made it in, so it happens, I guess. Yeah, there were, like the Earth Elemental. I had some video of it, but it didn't make it into the slideshow. Alright, let's go put the purple flower in the Pride Garden. Oh, wait, let's go check here first. Hey, the guy guiding. How you doing? Pineapple dress. There's nothing here I don't already own. Yeah, there's nothing here I don't already... Yeah, I think I own one of these kimonos. I found a pretty good game. Oh, God, what's that? Is it the new Paper Mario? Because I thought it was pretty good. Pretty great, actually. Yeah. Hey, Nan. Purple tulips for the Pride Garden. Oh, look at that. Oh, I've heard of Temtem. I've heard of Temtem. I'm waiting for it. It's coming to Switch next year. So I'm going to play it then. But yeah, I've heard of Temtem. It's like a Pokemon thing. It's like a Pokemon MMO. Yeah. No, it looks pretty decent. But yeah, I heard it's coming to Switch next year, so I'll play it then. Yeah, cool. Cool. But yeah, so I guess that's all I'm doing today. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be a complicated day. I was just supposed to be talking about Paper Mario, which I did. Tomorrow, we'll be back to normally scheduled Animal Crossing. Maybe I'll build a bridge on the mountain. But for today, it's back to writing my next review. This time for Ghost of Tsushima. So for Ghost of Tsushima, I really like the wind mechanic. It's one of those things that, like, the lack of UI is interesting in and of itself, but the wind mechanic clearly shows post-Breath of the Wild influence, which the more influence from Breath of the Wild we take, the better. And while Breath of the Wild didn't need a map and could work on minimal UI, Ghost of Tsushima takes it to the next level. While it's not the most perfectly implemented thing, it's still a really interesting mechanic nonetheless. And I'm really glad they added it into the game. I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima. I really want to, though, but I haven't. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be back to normal Animal Crossing. Don't know what time, but tomorrow we will be. It's just, I wanted to do this, so that's what gets done. Hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.